Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this beautiful place right here, Parx Casino. This is our hangout. Andrew Frazier, my
Love it
producer, and
here.
I. Right? How about it?
Great
we
place.
we convene here at Parx Casino, right at the entrance of the sports book. As we hang out, is our a lot of the sheets and stuff as we get ready for a big Cousins Corner. Go through all the weekend's football with you guys. There's a million. This is such a great time of the year between the hoops starting and we got hockey, and of course the World Series begins Friday. And all the football that you want, heating up, trades in the NFL. Don't forget, though, make Parx Casino your hangout for the weekend. Yes, all the great stuff you want here. You can come and hang out at the Parx Steakhouse. How about the Bamboo Noodle House, Chickies and Pete's, and, of course, the bars over here at the Sports Book, and we love the beer garden is fabulous. So any of your good times, plus all the acts, incredible. So make sure that you look at Parx Casino. This is how you win. Parx Casino, Street Road, Ben Salem exit. So close to anywhere. Make it your fun time. We'll tell you about the Bet Parx app as well. Coming up shortly. Don't forget, you got to be 21. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER, betparx.com, and parxcasino.com for all things Parx. Now joining us, the ambassador of the Parx Casino Sportsbook, my main man, of course, the Brain. Good evening, Brain.
Good to see you, man. How are you?
Good to see you, buddy boy. I'm good. I'm good. As we're getting ready for a big weekend, this is it. October's the greatest month, man. It's the best. All the sports, everything's right here. There's nothing like it, Brain.
You know, it's interesting, Anthony, but I thought last week was such a just dynamic, amazing week. We had the Texas-Georgia game. We had in the NFL. I mean, let's look at
every matchup. I mean, the Lions,
Texans
Vikings
against Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just all like 49ers, Chiefs. It was like a who's who of incredible matchups. This week, to me, nowhere near what last week was in terms of the quality of the games. But listen, anytime there's betting allowed, man, I'm always excited.
I just love this time of the year because of all the sports. Like everything is in play, right? It's the confluence because of the World Series, right? It's the confluence of all four sports: NBA, NHL, MLB, and of course NFL and college football. So you got all this great stuff going on. Listen. NBA has begun. And we'll get into a little bit of NBA futures and kind of what you're seeing early, maybe teams to look out for, players to look out for. That, I'm sure you've done a lot of scouting knowing that, hey, look, early in the season, certain guys are going to get some run that will really be correlate to props, right? So I'm sure you got guys that are circled, the guys that you're watching, that sort of thing. So we'll get into that. We'll get into the World Series as well. But as always, we start with the NFL. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, Vikings and Rams. I got to tell you, just as an aside, I'm surprised Cooper Kupp is on the block. If I'm the Rams, the West is wide open, and they're looking to trade him. I mean, there was a report earlier by Diana Rossini that said the Chiefs were in play for Kupp. Now, they wound up getting DeAndre Hopkins, but they made a play for Kupp, except they couldn't afford him salary-wise, and they didn't want to give up the big draft pick. So they wound up going with Hopkins, who I think serves that, fills that need anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm not so sure about that in the sense that I don't know how much he has left. Now, obviously, the argument for your way would be anyone playing with Will Levis.
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Right. So, like it's almost like you can't answer if he's still good or not because it would almost probably be impossible to see if someone's like you could. Let's look at Tyreek Hill. Is Tyreek Hill suddenly become bad? No, he's playing with a quarterback who can't get him the ball. So I guess that would be the argument for DeAndre Hopkins is you really can't tell. He's still. What I like about DeAndre Hopkins, Anthony, is this. He always reminded me, and a player, that was, in terms of he was never really that fast. In fact, I think he ran a 4.68 out of Florida State, but he had a brilliant career was Anquan Bolden. Because Anquan Bolden was tough. He had great hands. And you would watch him and you'd be like, doesn't seem to get open, but he just catches every ball, and he was a tough SOB. DeAndre Hopkins,
I
to
mean,
me,
look
I
at
thought
Amari Cooper is kind of in that same vein where now, right? You look at him
yeah,
in Buffalo, and he fits the need. He fits the suit in Buffalo that
he
you
fits
need
the suit.
someone that's dependable down the field that you can get the ball to.
Well, obviously, look, someone like Mahomes puts the ball in theoretically perfect spots. So, look, again, it's cost him just a draft pick, and if they don't re-sign him, with the way that I'm not exactly sure how the rules work, Anthony. I know if you don't re-sign a certain free agent, you get like a compensatory pick.
Yeah.
So when Andy's giving up and Brent Beach are giving up a fourth round pick for him, if they don't re-sign him, it really may not even be a pick at all. Like it may be like they're just trading a fourth for a compensatory fourth. Who the heck cares? Probably just a pure salary dump for the Titans. At this point, they're 1-5.
Totally.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, without a doubt. Now, here's the thing. I know a little bit about that with that situation. Of course, they would prefer Cup. I mean, Cup is an elite receiver, but you
Yeah.
can't afford them. They needed a third
Right.
team to take on some of the salary, which is some of the issues, and then all of a sudden now you're compensating two teams.
Well, that's exactly right, Anthony. It's what you can afford. The NFL is not as simple as, oh, let me have this. You have to see if you can afford it or whatnot. But I kind of agree with what you said, Anthony, and I'm a little surprised. I'd love to speak to Coach McVay and get his feedback. It's like, what are they, 2-4? I think. I don't have. Do
Yes.
you know what the record?
Yeah.
They're
They're
two and
2 and
four.
4. Yeah.
I know they beat the Raiders, and I know they beat the Niners. I don't know if they had a third win in there, but I look at them and I'm like, the Niners are beat up. Seattle's okay. Arizona's okay. I'm just surprised, kind of you said, but I had heard from someone, Anthony. I will tell you this because I do know people just because this sports game world where people just kind of are in the know, somewhat speak. And I heard, again, not saying my information was good. I'm impressed, but the Cooper Cup was even thinking of having some retirement talks because of how banged up he was. And again, I always say we always watch these guys and treat them like I say it all the time. They're
Madden
John
players.
Madden
Yeah.
characters. Yeah, but they're actually human beings going through real things and real trials and tribulations that I can't even dream of what these guys go through. I mean, I have so much respect for their physical toughness that the average person will never be able to relate to because they don't go through it. So he obviously was going through some things physically. Looks like he was playing well to start the year. Rooting for the guy like crazy. He seems like a good dude. Obviously would have been an incredible fit for Kansas City. Incredible fit. In my opinion. But listen, if they can't afford him, they can't afford him. But I'm surprised the Rams would be going down that road.
Yeah, you're going to get
I said,
Nakua back,
4 more
right?
years in the NFL. How many more? I mean, how many more years does Matt Stafford have as a top guy? This is Cup's towards the end of this thing. There's always a fine line. You're running a franchise,
Yeah.
and you're running 2024. How do you separate those two? Like, how do you separate 2024 versus running a franchise? So it's always that fine line that I think it's Les Snead, their GM, but and him and Coach McVay have to go through to put the best product on the field, and they have responsibility for every other player on that team. And you trade Cooper Kupp, what signal does that send to the locker room, right? It's kind of like the old Major League Baseball when they traded everyone. So not the best way to do
Nah,
that. So,
I mean, I look at the division. Seattle 4-3, and
yeah.
they're okay. I mean, they're
It's all gettable, Anthony.
yeah, right.
It's all gettable.
The Arizona 3-4, they're not very good. Their defense isn't good.
Gettable.
The Niners 3-4, no Ayuk, right? They're banged up. I mean, whatever. And it goes to the Rams 2-4, like we talked about. I don't know. I'm with you.
I'm with
I
you.
would have taken a
Again,
shot.
I am with you. And by the way, it's not like they're going to be getting. To me, this isn't like when you say to someone, all right, they're going to get like a first-round pick for him, and this is the last year to get that first-round pick. They're not going to get any kind of compensation like that. And could they get a second? I don't know. I don't know that well enough to comment. It would be a second or a third, but they're not going to get a first. I could tell you that. And if you're not getting that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you just throw away a season for that? I don't think it's ever worth throwing away a season unless you're the Cleveland Browns, right?
Yeah.
Where you just know you're Drek, and it's like, okay, listen, the locker room's have to understand because we stink. The Rams to me are nowhere near that, and I agree with everything that you said.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, the trade deadline is already, I mean, look at all the big trades we've already seen. So,
For sure. More trades than there used to be, Anthony.
yes, no, it's become like baseball,
Which I like.
right? Where the teams that are out get rated. And, Max Crosby, the rumors are just hot,
You
white
told me that
hot.
you don't think he's going anywhere, right? Like I know you said he's like Mr. Raider, which
He is,
yeah, you have
but
to have someone good on your team.
I'm starting to get off that stance because I heard a couple things. One, that he was talking about all his family from Detroit that is,
Well,
pressuring him to
that
go to the
would be
Lions.
if he went to the Lions, like that would be unbelievable for the Lions, right? I mean, can you? I mean, that would just be such a. Now, if I was Detroit. Now, here's the thing I will say, Anthony. When I have a chance to be all in, like let's flip it. We're talking about the Rams. Let's say you're Detroit. You don't know again, and the NFL is the most day-to-day thing in the history of the universe. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and you don't know if tomorrow if Jared Goff's going to tear his ACL next year. You don't know.
Oh, dude,
Just a million
exactly
things can
right.
happen. A
And,
million
and
things can
think
happen.
about
So
it,
to
right?
me,
Yeah, you're spot on. The Eagles of the 2000s are the great lesson,
that's a
right?
perfect example. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
So
you were buzzing around, and you never won.
I would absolutely, if I was a Detroit Lion, say to myself, all right, we lost Hutchinson, and we can either feel bad about ourselves and maybe just listen. The Chiefs got rid of Tyreek Hill for 0, and they won the Super Bowl two
Yeah,
years in a row.
yeah.
So I listen. Anyone who say it can't be done, Tyreek Hill got voted the best player in the NFL. Literally, got voted the best player in the NFL. So I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying that's wrong. But the point being is, if a team loses who was voted to be the best player in the entire league, and they win the title 2 straight years without him, it's not your quarterback. You can win without Aiden Hutchinson. So you could say, all right, look, we can do it. Or you say, you know what? Let's try to get a reinforcement. You could take the cheap way out and try to get someone on the Browns, maybe like a Zadarius Smith or someone like that. Or you say, listen, we're going to go for a Max Crosby. I think Max Crosby, Anthony, tell me if you agree. I think he's a top 5 defensive player in the whole league.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, it's funny because 2 of the top 5 could be on the move as we then look to Cleveland, right? Like, if you're
Miles, you think?
if you're the Browns, are you all in on a rebuild now and go, all right, now's the time to try to hijack a team from Myles Garrett?
Yeah, well, listen, again, here's the thing. And when you're a team like Cleveland, you have to say to yourself, all right, we hive Myles Garrett at this price. What would it, listen, they're just, they made, that was a catastrophic, you couldn't, I am laughing, but you couldn't have had a more catastrophic trade than what happened to them with Deshaun Watson from just everything. Like they say Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong does go wrong. What happened with this team was as bad can be. Now you say, okay, do you want to just start from ground zero and say, listen, with Myles Garrett, we can go 4-13? I thought it was Myles Garrett, we can go 4-13, but let's get 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks, whatever he would garner in a deal. Be curious to see what he would get. He's still young enough where I think he would probably get multiple first-round picks. Don't know that for sure, but it's a tough call.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, let's get to the games. Vikings and Rams tomorrow night. It's a short line. It's a Rams line. The Vikings are a 3-point favorite. There's a thing going on this year that teams that play the Lions, because they're so physical, it used to be like this with the Ravens, that the following week they're so beat up, which tells me Rams is the play. What do you think?
Well, I think it's funny. I did bet this game, and I was able to get 3.5. Fortunately, down to 3. I thought this line should have been between 2.5 and 3. So I love getting 3.5. Still definitely lean here for sure on the Rams. Well, look, by the way, I have the utmost, and I mean the utmost respect for this Vikings team. They still
I know you liked
had
them. You liked them preseason. You liked them.
every performance they've had, Anthony, where they 6-1.
Yeah.
Every game they've played well. Like if you
Yeah.
were rating them as doing the study for all the sports media, you would give them a good solid grade in their 6 wins. And the
5,
game against Detroit, listen, or 5, whatever.
Yeah.
Your game against Detroit, you say to yourself, okay, like they lost on the last play of the game, and they were losing most of the game, granted, but their defense made a couple really big plays. Team's playing great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for me though, it's just hard to win in the NFL. Never easy to win on the road. Rams to me, I still do love Stafford. If with Kupp back, if Kupp wasn't playing, I wouldn't have bet this. But with Kupp playing, I think that's a huge upgrade for the Rams. Lean here, Rams. I think it's going to be hard for the Vikings to win this game by 4. I think the line's a little bit too high still.
Yeah, I'm with you. Completely with you. All right, Arizona. Let's go to Sunday. Dolphins in Arizona. EU, but is Tua back? 3.5 Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I say Tua Anthony is supposed to be back.
I know.
From everything that I
And
understand.
that's a Tua line.
Well, for sure. And again, Miami has. I mean, can you imagine Mike McDaniel has to be like he was playing with not 2 hands but 3 hands behind his back.
Right.
So, and it's funny, and I know me and you both were in agreement that Tua was overrated, and I'm not getting off that.
No,
again,
but
I will say,
yes,
you take him off.
Yes.
Right?
No, I can't argue.
I
can't argue that, man. I mean, listen, yeah.
He'd have to say, "What do you think about that, Brad and Anthony? You think I'm overrated?"
Yes, take that. Too. Yeah.
Yeah, so even though I think he is not a $55 million per year player, and I don't think he's necessarily that good, I guess they just had really, which is why I think having a good backup quarterback to me is of utmost importance. They didn't have one, and it bit them in the you-know-what.
Yeah.
Slightest of slight leans to Arizona for me because it's over 3. I thought the line would be between 3 and 3.5. It is 3.5. Slightest of leans to Arizona, but I think Arizona, I don't like the offensive coordinator. They've done a horrible job integrating, and I mean horrible. I mean not bad, we stress. Horrible job integrating Marvin Harrison. I don't know what's going on there. I'm not saying Marvin Harrison.
Crazy, man. I know. I'm with you.
They have neutered him.
Yeah.
It's like they've really made it where, we just need to get Kyler. I don't like, again, I didn't look, we could talk about it. I didn't love, their coach, like, when he was on the Eagles, Gannon, and I guess they had I can't even say surprising, won like 4 games, but I thought they were even going to be worse than the 4 wins they had. I don't love Arizona, but I'm going to lean here just because it's 3.5, but not worth a bet to me.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Isn't that interesting? Oh my God! I mean, geez, wow, my God. Let's go to Tampa and Atlanta. Tampa, we saw banged up. The worst thing you could possibly see is Chris Godwin at the end of that game and the ankle becoming dislocated. Evans already gone with the hamstring. I mean, quite frankly, I don't know how that you get it up after that short week and losing your heart and soul. I mean, geez, you lost both those guys.
Anthony, and this is, listen, there's theoretically no right answer to this, right? Like you could argue it both ways. I remember Coach Belichick would play his guys at the end, and me argue with Bill Belichick would be the movie Dumb and Dumber starring Brad Feinberg, because I know Bill Belichick forgets more in football than I know. So I'm not, but conceptually, when he would play those guys week 16 back on those 16-game schedule, I would always be like, man, versus the benefit of staying fresh versus just having what happened to Mike Evans, what happened to Mike Williams when the Chargers did it 2 years ago, and then they lost. He was their only receiver, the top receiver.
I know.
They lose Mike Williams, and then they lose to the Jaguars, blowing a 30-0 lead. I just always say to myself, and it happened to Godwin the last play, I'm like, I just personally wouldn't do it. And I felt really bad because I always say that's why you have extra receivers, where if it gets in garbage time, I just don't need to risk that. But what happened. No one's going to feel bad for you. It's the NFL. This line, Anthony, moved 5.5 points. 5.5 points. This line opened Tampa Bay by 3, which I thought was a valid line. But losing their star wide receivers, this line is flipped 2.5 points to now, Atlanta's favored. Not a game I'm betting. Baker's been that good. Did have a lot of picks last week, but he's been that good that, look, I guess it's going to be a lot of Kate Otten. Can their wide receiver Sterling Shepard? I don't know. They have the rookie. I'm spacing on his name right now, Anthony. McMillan.
McMillan.
Washington. Yeah, I mean, lean Atlanta, but again, not a game I'm betting. But I just cannot back Tampa Bay even as a home dog. Even though I don't trust Atlanta. Last week on these airways, we talked about how we thought Atlanta was overrated, and they got blown out by Seattle, absolutely torched. But just, I don't know. I mean, we always say next man up in the NFL, Anthony, but when you lose really good players, is it really next man up, or is it we're screwed?
Yeah. No, hey, listen, that's valid, man. That's completely valid. No, I'm with you. My man Tooch Watson says, "Ride the brain."
Appreciate that, Teach.
Ravens and Browns. I mean, it's slop.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Anthony, because here you have a game, and it's funny, you look at it, and the line right now on Parks is 8.5 points.
Yeah.
8.5 points. And you say, it's funny, you say to yourself in a game like this, so, when you say like a game, you look at it, and you're like, who's going to bet Cleveland here, right? Like, who is going to bet Cleveland, right? But you have to put a line out there, and I will say this now, it's crazy to say, but I think losing Watson and getting Winston in, you have to only look at it as an upgrade. Clearly, right, Anthony? I mean, like, Watson to me was 32nd out of 32nd quarterbacks. He couldn't complete a
I'll be
football
honest
pass.
with you. Like, this is a game. I mean, there's no reason to play it. But
I'm not.
Right. But if you're asking me who I think covers, like, if you had to bet it, I would bet the Browns because I think the Ravens coming off that game where they were outrageous, right? Like, Lamar's throwing dimes and they just round them on a short week. Then you go from Tampa to Cleveland and on probably that, the kind of muddy kind of game with a still Myles Garrett and a good defense. It's still a division game. And I can see Winston being good and good enough to cover, right? So, from that perspective.
You know what's interesting, Anthony?
Well, thank you.
With Ravens defense.
Man, just probably some water.
There, you deserve it. You deserve
little Parx water.
Yeah, you deserve that, brother. The Ravens defense, 32nd against the pass, Anthony. 32nd. So with Watson, you had someone who couldn't throw a football. Winston, say what you want to say about the guy. And
I know. I listen, Jameis, man. He can sling it.
He's like Vinny Testaverde, right? Vinny Testaverde was the first pick. Jameis was the first pick. They both were like nowhere near worth the first pick, but they usually threw their 250 yards a game. They may throw the ball to the other team twice, but they at least had the ability to get the ball downfield. And at least he should have that. Again, not a play from me here, Anthony, looking at the line on Park. But lean Cleveland, but not a bet.
All right, Jaguars and Packers. Green Bay outlasting Houston last week. Now go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville on a little bit of a uptick. If you want to call it that.
Yeah, well, you take what you can get, right? Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, Green Bay laying 4.5.
Yeah, actually, Anthony, it's now down to 4. It's now down to 4 on the Park side. Looking at it right now.
I got the sheet from the sports book.
Yeah, I know the sheet. But I know. Yeah, exactly. The sheet. Yeah, exactly. But I'm always updated on the Park side.
I know. You're up to date on everything.
Yeah.
The brain just sees this stuff. They're like numbers.
Got the computer screens here, Anthony.
In the air.
Here in Florida, you'll see the setup. You'll see all the monitors and whatever. But anyway, listen. Here's the thing. Only way I can look here, Anthony, is the Green Bay side. I think Green Bay's a really good team. I told you I have them. Look, I have Detroit ranked 1 in the NFC, and I think Philadelphia, Green Bay, and Minnesota are all really close for the next 3 teams, in my opinion. Green Bay, I think, is a good team. Jacksonville, again, because they beat New England, am I going to give them credit? Not really. Not that I think this is a bad line, but only way I can look here is the Green Bay side. I trust Love to have success against the bad Jaguars defense. And to me, now listen, the one thing I'll say about Green Bay, their run defense has just been, they've been gashed. Anthony, they've been gashed by everyone. Like, everyone's run for 100 yards. Last week, Mixon over 55 yards was like one of my favorite prop bets.
I know.
Over that in the first quarter. So Bigsby, I think, could have some success running the ball against the team. But listen, if you're going to tell me I'm going to get gashed in the air or gashed running the ball, I always rather be gashed running the ball because a good run is 6 yards, a good pass is 16 yards. So to me, only way I'm looking here is Green Bay. I think they hurt my feelings last week. I laid 2.5. Despite Stroud throwing for 75 yards, I somehow lost. But I think Jordan Love gets this one done and they cover this one.
All right, in the South, Houston, Colts at Houston. Houston 5.
Yeah, it's funny. I think this one actually opened at 6.5, and I did take 6.5. It's now down to 5. See, I thought this line, Anthony, should have been like closer to 5.
Yeah.
And again, these are small margins we're working with for everyone watching. when you're betting these NFL games, you're never going to find a game like you're like, all right, I think the line should be pick 'em and it's 7. It's just that's not the way it goes. You're looking for small 2-point edges, which if you're laying -110 in a bet can translate into a profitable bet. But you're not being taken to heaven on any of these bets. Just so you know, these lines are sharp. Now look, here's the thing. Houston has been without Nico Collins to me, Anthony. They are nowhere near the force they were
Right.
offensively. Well, again, Anthony, you saw what happened with Green Bay with Jordan Love. I mean, in that game, C.J. Stroud threw for 70-some yards. Colts, I wish Joe Flacco was playing. I wish to God Joe Flacco was playing from a Colts point of view because they're, to me, far better with Joe Flacco. At 5, again, I thought that's kind of what the number should be. Slightest of leans to the Colts, but at 5 versus a 6.5, I think the value, again, 6 is a valid number in the NFL, very valid. It's a pass for me, but I don't trust this Texans team, Anthony, right now. I really don't. I think it's hard for them right now offensively, and I think Stroud is hurting because Diggs is no longer, Anthony, he's a possession guy. He's become like he's really not. You see the name Stephon Diggs, you're like, oh, the guy.
Nah, they miss Nico. They miss Nico. They do.
Yeah, they do. You nailed it. And they got rid of him at the right time. The Bills got rid of him at the right time.
Yeah, I agree. Patriots, Jets laying 7 on the road in New England.
Anthony, I got to tell you, you remember? I think it was. I think it was the Snoopy ones where they would hold the field goal and from Linus or whatever. They kick the field goal and he'd move the ball or whatever and he'd fall on his face. The New York Jets have made me fall on my face time after time because I want to keep thinking that this team is better than I guess they are, and because I see the piece, I'm like, all right, 2 great running backs, now 2 dominant receivers. I thought a defense that was certainly good, and you just watch them and you're just like, man, they're just maddening to watch. I guess it looks. I'm being honest, calling out. Aaron Rodgers is obviously just not an elite player anymore. I don't think anyone can, at this point, say that. Just watching him, and you just keep wanting to give him chance after chance after chance, and it's just not there. All that being said, the Patriots, Anthony, are probably, I think, the second worst team maybe in pro football right now. And I went to that game, and they destroyed them in New York. I think it was like 20. We talked about that game.
Yeah.
We both thought they won by 3 touchdowns. They actually won by 3 touchdowns. Only way I could look here is the Jets, but man, if backing that team laying 7 points the way they played, you're a better man than me.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, let's keep the Eagles aside for last, like we always do. Lions laying 11 at home to the putrid Titans.
Yeah, Anthony, it's funny. The Titans are putrid, and that is fair. But the one thing that the Titans have not been defensively, they have not been putrid.
I agree. I agree. I guess I got Will Levis and mayonnaise on the brain, which equates to putrid. Yes.
Yeah, you nailed it, and they just, it's interesting because they were, if you watch that game last week, Anthony, they were beating Buffalo the entire way, and then their coach is there Callahan? Is that their coach?
Yeah,
the coach is Callahan. I think it's the offensive line coach's son, Bill Callahan. But
yeah,
they were up, I think 14-10 or 10-7. It was something like that. It was the third quarter. There was like 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. Josh Allen was 4-14. Their defense was playing great. And this is the analytics stuff, Anthony, where I'm just gonna like smack some coach. I'm like, come on, use your noggin.
Brian Callahan is a young coach. I mean, those younger coaches lean into the analytics as much as it drives up.
Your own 38.
I know.
Let me repeat, Anthony. 4th and 2 at your 38, up 14-10 or 10-7 or you're up by 3 or 4 points, whatever it was. You go for it. If you're a Buffalo Bill fan, you're begging them, please go for it. Please go for it. Please go for it. I'll do anything you say. Just go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even hard to figure out. I always say this. This is how you figure this stuff out. You always say, what would you want the other team to do? If you have the decision, if you were rooting for the other side, would you want me to go for it or do you want me to punt?
Yes.
And if you're a Buffalo Bill fan, you're praying they go for it.
Of course.
38.
Nah, you're right. Hey, Brain, let's pause for a second.
Yes, sir.
Because we are joined by Matt Hannon, like we do each week,
Awesome.
who is the director of the sportsbook here at Parx and is got a line on all where the money goes, where the action is, the most heavily bet. Matt, what do you say, pal?
Hey,
Always
Anthony.
good to see you,
How
brother.
are you? I got some gifts for you guys this week. I got some Bet Park swag for you guys.
Oh,
all
look
right?
at this
There you
nice
go.
hat. That's
Some
sharp
hats for
hat.
you guys.
Listen. All right, I'm gonna have to send one down to Brain.
Okay.
Because the Brains
I want
hat
it.
game, this is a great hat, and the Brains hat game is not strong. The only thing about the Brain is his lid. He's got to improve the lid.
Yeah.
Right, to cover that incredible brain of his.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he I think he borrows his girlfriend's hats. And that
Yeah,
right,
you're ratting me out.
I know. I'm sorry,
Oh,
Brain.
we'll hook you up. We'll get you a Bet Parks hat.
All right. So let's first, before we get into some of the games in the NFL and college, World Series is Friday,
Yep.
and this is an epic World Series. Dodgers Yankees. Where's all the action going?
Yeah, great for baseball. Exactly what they wanted, right?
Yeah.
Liability has been on the Yankees all year, pretty much. But now that the matchup has been set, we're starting to see money come in on both sides. So it's pretty split. Dodgers are minus 125 to win the series. So we're seeing it come in on both sides now. But
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I love the Dodgers.
Me too.
I love the Dodgers in the series. Brain, we didn't get to it yet. Where are you leaning here?
Well, I think, again, the only way I can look here, we talk about it, is 100% the Dodgers way.
Yeah.
It's an easy side for me. It's not even a hard, to me. What are they laying right now on the series? $1.25? Is that?
Yeah.
minus 125. Yep.
You know, I think that's extremely reasonable for a team to me. Like, I just don't think the Yankees are.
They don't have the
to me,
firepower
just-
the Dodgers do.
No.
No, and the Yankees, they don't really have any. I don't think their pitching is as good either. I don't think the Yankees have one thing as good as the Dodgers. Like, to me, the Dodgers have the edge in every aspect of the series. So you only have to lay minus 125. I think it's very reasonable. Again, baseball, the variance of it's always tough to predict, guys. But to me, easy side Dodgers.
Were the Dodgers the favorite? Did you have the most Dodger money as far as futures were concerned?
No, Yankees.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's why you said the Yankees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, Yankees throughout the season, and then
Wow.
now that